Over the last several months, we've been in some very unique facilities, very unique plants with unique products that do business around the world from right here in Miami Township. And today we're in one of the most unique facilities. It's a factory. And to tell us about it is Larry Bergeron. Larry, thank you for inviting us.
Thank you, Carl. Thanks for coming here
Tell
today.
us about what your company is, who you are, what you do.
Thanks, Carl. Appreciate the opportunity. We are a worldwide operation, and we're not for profit. We make things here, but we don't sell them. What we actually make is a life-saving food product called Kids Against Hunger that's delivered to children that are starving to death or have hunger anxieties, whether they're locally, regionally, or around the world. And we call it the factory because the food is made here. It's produced by volunteers who come from the community, and they've actually come from all over the tri-state to be involved with this food product.
Now, this is a nationwide organization, correct?
It's a nationwide organization.
Tell us about the organization.
Well, the parent organization is called Kids Against Hunger. It's based out of New Hope, Minnesota. It was started about 15 years ago by a man by the name of Richard Proudfit, who had seen starving children in international third world countries and felt so moved to do something about it. He began working with food scientists at Pillsbury, Cargill, Archie Daniel Midland to come up with a food product that would feed these children and bring them back to good health. And he came up with this formula years ago. And right now there's about 80 satellite locations in the United States that work to produce this food. We happen to be one of two in the state of Ohio, and I think we're about the 5th largest in the United States in terms of production.
And how much of this product is shipped in the United States and around the world?
We get asked that question a lot of times, Kyle. About 40% of the locations that we ship to are in the United States. Overwhelming, I think about 90% of our volume goes offshore. For example, we were a leading provider of food to Haiti after the earthquake on January 12th. We have children in the United States who have hunger anxieties due to economic situations or whatever. They may need to skip a meal or may not getting the nutrition that they need. We do provide food through local food pantries, school programs. We ship a lot to Appalachia, to Wilmington, Ohio, and so forth. But overwhelmingly, you will see thousands upon thousands of children off the shores of the United States where there's no infrastructure to help through welfare, food stamps, programs like that, where these children literally starve to death every day. To the number, Carl, 30,000 children around the world starve to death every day.
I think that's hard for people in this country to actually envision. Having been in the military and been around a little bit, I've seen some of that, and it's very, very difficult for an American to see that. It really is.
Well, we're blessed as a nation, and we're blessed as a people, and we have an abundance here, although there are people in our society who suffer, and we do want to help our own American citizens, and we do. But overwhelmingly, once you step off the shores of the United States, you're walking into very difficult situations where so many thousands upon thousands of children perish every day. People can't comprehend 30,000, but let me try to give you an example of what that would be. Paul Brown Stadium, where great Bengals play. That stadium holds about 65,000 people. So if you look at that stadium, if you've ever been there, one half of that stadium every day of children will starve to death, or perish. And it goes without end. It doesn't stop.
Well, we take water here, for example. We can get a glass of water out of the faucet. Most of the world, you can't do that.
You can't do that.
Okay.
And it's unfortunate, but it's part of the problem as well. So the factory, Carl, is where people come and they actually produce a product like this.
Tell me about the product.
This has got 21 vitamins and minerals, specially formulated. It's got 6 dried vegetables, highly fortified soy protein for cell reproduction and good body growth, as well as rice. So it's a vegetarian-based product. It tastes very good, like a rice-a-roni or a rice pilaf. And this pouch is prepared by volunteers. This pouch will feed 6 hungry children. If you were to work 2 hours, Carl, or volunteer 2 hours of your time here at the factory, you would produce enough of this to feed a child for 1 year. 2 hours of your time feeds a child for a year. We feed a child for 25 cents a day. So for just about $10 a month, which produces the food and gets it shipped to where it needs to go, we can keep a child alive for $10 a month. And this is the work that people do when they come to the factory. Over 10,000 people have been involved so far, just here.
So you've worked with churches here in the community to bring volunteers in.
Churches and business groups, sports teams, community groups, Kiwanis, Rotary groups, basketball teams, football teams, baseball, American Heritage Girls, Cub Scouts, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts. Neighborhood subdivisions come. Families have had birthday parties at our factory location, and they'll come because they want to give something back to the children of the world that they know are suffering. And for 2 hours of their time, they say, hey, if we come as a family and we work together, the 4 of us or 5 of us, we're going to keep 5 children alive for a year through our efforts of just 2 hours of time. It's pretty we call it miracle math.
Well, Larry, you've been here in the Cincinnati area for how long?
About 5 years.
About 5 years. And you've been from where to where until you're here in Miami Township?
Well, I've had a long journey, but we moved here about 5 years ago. I was called as a pastor of a church in Mason, Ohio, and we served there and enjoyed the people there, still do. But I've been all over the world with these children over many, many years. We work to get orphans adopted. We work in the community to improve foster care for some of our own children that are here in the situations, as well as working to feed and give water to starving and thirsty children around the world. But having been here for 5 years and seeing what I've seen around the world, we were called to basically get this thing started, to work with key people in the community, churches and business and otherwise, to help these children that desperately need help.
Your first factory was where?
We started in Westchester, Ohio,
Okay.
a little over 2 years ago. We had our first pack there. We were able to set up approximately 4 lines, which would accommodate maybe 40 people. We moved about 15 months later to a Kroger store that was graciously offered to us by the Kroger Company, which is a tremendous benefactor to us. We have been operating there since September of last year, so just about 1 year. And we grew from 40 people in Westchester to maybe 200 people in the Blue Ash location. And then recently, because of the changing of the lease at that location, we've come here to relocate to Milford in Miami Township, and we're very excited about that.
Your funding comes from here. What type of organization are you, and where does your funding come from?
We're formally called a 501c3 nonprofit
Okay.
charitable organization. We're incorporated in the state of Ohio, the great state of Ohio, and we're recognized by the IRS as a bona fide an organization that people can donate to and receive a tax deduction for it. All of our funds come from people. None of our funding comes from the federal, state, or local governments. Not a dime, nothing. We all operate, all of the food that is produced in these bags comes from people and churches and businesses and groups who donate so that we can feed starving children. In about a little over 2 years' time, we've produced about 3.5 million meals.
Wow.
Over 10,000 volunteers have been involved. And all of the funds for those 3.5 million meals have been raised through people coming in and saying, hey, I want to help keep these children alive. And they donate. For $10 a month, they can keep a child alive in a very high-protein, nutritious food product. So that's what we do.
Well, you mentioned that Kroger was a great sponsor. You have transportation issues and everything else. As far as moving this product is concerned, do you have other corporate supporters?
We have
to help with that?
there are companies like General Electric and Johnson & Johnson who provide matching donations for their employees who give to us, which is wonderful. There are about 10 companies who provide matching donations. Those are just a few. We have to work out all of our transportation with companies that work internationally, shipping lines and air carriers and things of that nature. For the most part, it is expensive, and although we can feed a child for 25 cents a day, which is maybe $7.50 a month, we try to get $2.50 a month on top of that to help provide some of the shipping.
Yeah, so the logistics of places you go can be rather difficult.
Oh, they can be. Haiti has been very challenging since the earthquake, and we just shipped, for example, 2 weeks ago we shipped 2 containers, over 500,000 meals to Haiti, and we've done 1 million meals for Haiti since the earthquake. We got a campaign here on September 11th for the children of Nicaragua, one on September 25th at the grand opening, which will be for the starving orphans of Africa, and continuing. So, and part of our production goes locally as well, and as I stated. But all that shipping has to be arranged through international carriers, mostly ship lines.
You had mentioned that some of these countries have less than stable governments. How do you assure your product is getting where you want it to go?
Carl, that's a great question. That comes up frequently. We don't just ship to the country. Either I have been there personally and I have a relationship with the people on the ground, or I have a proven partnership with these people through other arrangements. And we do not, because this food is very valuable. A container, for example, is worth about $72,000 to $75,000 with food. So if you just ship that, you're going to be pretty much guaranteed it's going to be gone. So you have to work with people on the receiving end to be sure it's taken off of the dock and then got into a secure compound immediately.
I know people in these countries don't eat the same way we do here in the United States. And I worked with the Air Force dropping food on the Kurds in the early days of the Iraq situation. And the calorie content was just too high for that. How is this this particular recipe set up?
It's designed specifically for children, and it's got a balanced nutritional content of vitamins and minerals and protein that they need. You know, a lot of times we get our protein from meat, and they don't have access to that, and obviously we can't ship beef around the world. That's just prohibitively impractical. This soy is formulated with protein.
For the application for the people that are going to receive it.
Exactly. And it's designed for children specifically. So some people look at that and say, well, gosh, you've got more sodium in here than we should be eating. I said, well, that may be true as an American, but in some of these diets, they don't have enough sodium, and they need that. There's iodine in it. Sometimes pregnant women will enjoy this food because it's got what they need on a prenatal basis to keep their babies and their infants that are unborn in a better health situation. But you'll find I have not been in any situation, Carl, where these children don't get this food and gobble it up quickly. They'll get one bowl of food, as you'll see on the pictures on some of the walls, and they just take that food and then it's just gone. And it's just, they just love it, and they ask for more. It's a very tasty product. It's something that I've eaten it for days in Africa and Haiti and elsewhere, and it does get boring, you know, and I crave Chipotle, or I crave something else, you know, while I'm out there. But it's very sustaining, and it's very healthy for them.
Well, tell me about your facility here, what you're going to have here when you have it all together.
When it's all together, we have it's a multifaceted building. There's a greeting area for people to come in and get registered. We have a training area, which is where we train people on what they're going to be doing, and also introducing them to the needs of children locally and around the world. Oftentimes we find that people who come really do not know the suffering of children that goes on around the world. They may see or hear something about it, but they don't really know factually. So we introduce them to that in about a half an hour. Then we bring them over to the assembly lines, and they work in teams of about 11 people on a line, a very simple process. Everything is dry. Ingredients are measured by scoops or spoons into these pouches where they are then weighed to be sure that they conform to 390 grams. Then they're heat sealed. Then they're packed in boxes, and there are teams that are running supplies back and forth from the production area up to the people on the lines to keep the production going. A lot of lines love to compete with one another, seeing who's packing more food than the other. They have a lot of fun. Music is going. It's a very lively environment. We've had people from 3 to 83 on these lines. We've had people who are blind, who are in wheelchairs, who are handicapped in some form, but they come, they are fulfilled, they have a sense of purpose, a sense of joy that they, even in their limited capacity, they're doing something to save a child's life. How fulfilling is that, Carl?
Personally, how did you get involved with this? What really inspired you to do this?
My wife and I started working with orphans in 1995 in a trip we made to former communist training camp in Russia. As a pastor, and having seen some of the suffering of these children, we knew that we had to do more to basically help these children find a better life and hope for today and hope for tomorrow. Over time, I became much more aware of the plight of children who are dying from thirst, from hunger, and from simple diseases that we've long ago since conquered. We can conquer malaria for 70 cents a shot, and these children are dying from malaria for lack of that. Even though I was a pastor coming out of the corporate world. And so I came out of the corporate world with a business background into the pastorate, loved the church, loved pastoring, loved working with people, and then said, this is my life's work. Just focusing all of the skills that God has given me over many years to say, okay, how can we change the lives of these children for the better? And that's how it came about. So from 1995, our first trip to visit orphans, to where we are today in 2010, and having been over 2 years now into this program, and seeing how it's grown dramatically. Well over 150 tons of ingredients, Carl, have been produced. This is a miracle. 150 tons packaged into little bags that weigh 13 ounces.
Well, you get to see the end product actually go to where it's needed.
Yeah. I've been with those children, Carl. It is. I've cooked it on the ground in Africa and Haiti or wherever I've been, fed these children, and just looked in their eyes, and even in their own language, they just cry and say, thank you.
Now, if people want to learn more about what your organization does,
yes, sir.
What can they do?
Well, they can stop by, pick up a card, and go to our website, which is www.hungernomore.us.
We'll have that on the screen.
Thank you, Carl.
Okay, and do you have a phone number here?
Yes, we do. It's 513-248-4005.
Okay. Well, listen, this is part of what makes Miami Township just a great place to live. It's people like you coming here, starting organizations like this, and does a lot of good around the world. I want to thank you for inviting us.
Thanks, Colin. Thanks for having us. We're glad to be a part of this great community of people.
Please put this on your calendars. The offices of A Child's Hope International and the Kids Against Hunger Factory will have a grand opening and ribbon-cutting celebration on Saturday, September the 25th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at their location at 848 Molly Lane, just off Business 28. This celebration has a very serious note as they begin a large-scale humanitarian relief effort for the orphans of Africa. Everyone is invited to attend, and you can register early online at achildshopeinternational.org/volunteer.